Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever tutorial on my channel, and in this video we are going to be learning how to create the basic MVP version of my logger or of my Python logger in object-oriented programming. So this is basic. It will include file, DB and console logging. It'll be single threaded for now, and yeah, so let's just jump right in, shall we? So the first thing we're going to do, I'm using PyCharm. If you're using something else, then that's fine. Just you'll have to set it up on your own, kind of skip this little part, but you may want to watch this part because I do go over some settings that you may want in your project as well, even with a different IDE. So yeah, it's still worth it. So I'm going to call this Python logger OOP, like that. I'm not going to create a Git repo. I don't really need that. I'm going to just create it like that. So the first thing we're going to do is actually set this up. So I'm going to go to current file up here, edit configuration. So this is going to be our different run modes. I'm going to call it debug and production. I'm going to store it as well. So we're just going to go do that. We're going to select the script to be in here. We don't actually have a script yet. I completely forgot. So what we're actually going to do is forget that for a second. Just go up here to our project, create a new directory called source, and another one called logs, because we are going to need a logs directory. In this source directory here, we're just going to do main and logger. Just like that. Okay. Fantastic. So now that we have that, we can go in here. We can simply just do def main print hello world. And then if underscore name underscore equals underscore main underscore underscore, or underscore underscore main underscore underscore. It's very hard to say that for some reason. And then we just run the main function in here like that. And if we go back to debug edit configuration, we're going to go here semicolon debug equals 1 semicolon production equals 0. Okay. And we'll go to the script. We'll select that source main. Okay. That should all be fine. We'll create one more, which is going to be for production. And store that as well. Select the script, main. This will be then debug equals 0, production equals 1. Like that. Now, if we run it in debug, should get hello world. And if we run in production, we should also get hello world. Awesome. I'm going to keep it to debug for now. So now that we have that, let's jump into the logger file and let's start writing some code, shall we? So the first thing we're going to need is import a bunch of stuff. So we're going to say from enum import enum, because we're going to use some enums. Import inspect and os, and then from date time import date time, like that. Then we're going to do class log level. And in here, we're going to do enum like this. And this just creates a little enum. Python doesn't have built-in enum, so we have to kind of do it using a class in this kind of context. We're just going to type in here all is equal to 0. High is equal to 1. Medium is equal to 2. Low is equal to 3. Okay. Then we're going to create another class or another enum, basically. This time we're going to have underscore log type. We want this with an underscore just so that we can tell the people who are using this library that this is actually an internal function. It's a not function class. It's a private class, private enum. You shouldn't really be using this outside of this logger.py file. So if you are using it, stop. But if you do use it, it's at your own risk kind of thing. So one underscore I think is private. No, protected. Sorry, not private, protected. So one underscore is protected to this entire file, I believe. And then private is double underscore, which means it's private in this scope. I believe that's how it works. If I'm wrong, correct me. Okay, but we're going to do it anyways. I'm not really doing it for the use of actually protect and private. I'm using it more just to tell the developer that, hey, this shouldn't be used really outside this file. That's the main reason why I'm doing it. Okay, so we're going to have fatal is equal to 0. We'll have error is equal to 1. Warning is equal to 2. Success is equal to 3. Information is equal to 4. I can't type equals. What's going on? Debug is equal to 5 and trace is equal to 6, like that. Okay. So yeah, this is our kind of log type enum and our log level enum. Now that we have that, we can actually move on to creating our class. So we're going to create a class called logger. Okay. And in this class, we're going to have an init function like this. And inside this init function, we're going to have ident str toggle underscore file underscore logging. We're going to have that as a bool and set it default to false. And same for database toggle underscore db underscore logging. Bool is equal false, like that. Okay. So now that we have that, we can do self.ident is equal to ident. Why isn't that working? There we go. Self.toggle underscore file underscore logging. Couldn't think of the word. Logging is equal to toggle file logging. That should have a G on the end. There we go. Self.toggle underscore db underscore logging is equal to toggle db logging. Self dot log level is equal to log level dot all. Self dot file underscore path is equal to logs, like this. Why is that doing that? I don't understand. There we go. Self dot file underscore logging underscore timestamp. Now this is important. This is what's used to determine the runtime instance of this thing. So this is what the actual file logging name will be. File logging timestamp is going to be equal to datetime.now.strf time, and in here we're going to have percent capital Y dash percent dash m lowercase dash percent lowercase d, and then dash dash percent uppercase h dash percent uppercase m dash percent uppercase s, like that. Okay. That's our format essentially. Fantastic. Then we want self.con is equal to none. And none. There we go. Self.cursor is also equal to none, because these are for the database, right? And we're not always going to have the database enabled, so we just want to initialize them but not set them. Then lastly, we're going to say if toggle underscore db logging, then we simply want to do self dot underscore underscore log underscore db underscore initialize, like that. So we're going to have a function to initialize the database. So let's actually do that function next. So first of all, let's just go through this. So the identifier is what we use to identify each type of logger. For example, mylogger, mylogger2, logger2, whatever the name is, right? That's the identifier here. Then we have toggle file login. This is just a Boolean determining whether or not we want a file login or database login or neither or both. And then we have the log level. The default log level will be all. It'll automatically log all unless you change it otherwise. Then we'll have the file path again, unless you change it otherwise. File login timestamp, this will always be the same, just this format here. Self.con, self.cursor is just what we use for the connection and the cursor execution of the SQLite database system. So let's create a new function called underscore underscore log underscore db underscore initialize, like that. And in here, we are going to import SQLite 3, like that. And then we're going to say self.con is equal SQLite 3. I keep typing 4 for some reason. .connect. And in here, we just hardcode logs.db because we don't actually have a file path set up here for the database because we want it to be pretty like stuck. We want it to be hard-coded in for now, unless, you can always change that, by the way. If you want to add it up here yourself, that is absolutely fine. But for now, I'm going to keep it this way because I am fine with that. Okay. Next is self.cursor. And what this is going to do is self.con.cursor. And this just opens up like kind of like an instance. It's just a cursor. It's used to run the execution. So for example, we can do self.cursor.execute to run an actual query. And we're actually going to do that right now. So fantastic. Create table if not exists called logs. And in here we do ID integer, primary key, auto increment. Then we want to have logger is text, not null. Then we will have time stamp, text, not null. The reason I'm doing text is because I didn't really want to mess around with the date and time thing in the database because I don't really need it. It's just simply just to log the timestamp. So I'm just using text for now. You can change that if you would like. Header is text, not null. And lastly, message is text, not null. There we go. Okay, so once we've done that, we just need to save all this. So we're just going to say self.con.commit like that, okay? Fantastic. So now we just got some utility functions to do. Those are going to be things like setting the log level and things like that. So def set underscore log underscore level. In here, then we'll do log underscore level, which will be log level like that. We'll do self.log level is equal to log level, just like that. Okay, that's that one done. And then we want set underscore toggle underscore file underscore logging. I always miss that G. Okay, there we go. Toggle is going to be a bool, right? Simple. And all we want to do with that is say self.toggle file login is equal to toggle. And then we do the same for the database, but slightly different. So set underscore toggle underscore db underscore logging. And with this one, we're going to have toggle and we're going to set it to bool. But, well, actually, no, we're going to have the same. So we're going to have self.toggle db login is equal to toggle. But then we're also going to do if toggle, we want to do self.underscore log database initialization. So every time we basically set this to true, database login that is, we want to initialize the database, make sure it's all set up, because we could have an issue where we keep it as false up here when we initialize, and then for the first time ever, we set it true using this, and there's no way to initialize it because we don't have this logic here. So we just add this line of code in here to make sure. Okay, awesome. Next is the file path. So set underscore file underscore path, which is just the file path for file logging, right? File underscore path is str. And here self.file path is equal to file path, like that. Pretty simple. Next, we have all the functions related to fatal, error, warning, all that kind of stuff, right? So let's jump into that. But I want to do that in the next episode of this tutorial because we are running out of time here. We've got some great progress done today. We've managed to create our log level, log type stuff, our logger class. We just need to add a load more stuff related to the core logic. We've got the scaffolding all set up now. We've kind of got, you know, the utility functions that we need. We got the initialization stuff, and we got everything we need ready to implement everything. And that needs to actually be deleted, so I don't know why that came up. Yeah, so in the next episode, we're going to take a look at actually creating fatal, error, success, all those kind of stuff, and then the actual database login, file login, all that kind of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!